Hey, Colin, thanks for being on Humans of Reliability. My goal with these is really just to get to know people across the industry. So it's going to be really casual and really fun. I would love to just start with a bit of an intro from you on, who you are, what you do, anything you'd like to share about yourself.
Yeah, sounds great. Thank you, Ashley. I appreciate the opportunity. So my name is Colin FitzGerald, and I'm the problem and incident manager for Webflow. Prior to that, I owned the quality space there, so a natural transition into the problem and incident space. It's always a bit of a side project for quality folks, and we needed to dedicate somebody full-time to that problem and incident space, and so I was the likely candidate. I took over about 8 months ago now, somewhere around there.
Okay, very cool. We love Webflow. Side note, we're on the process of rebuilding our entire website and moving everything over to Webflow, and it is just like the best thing ever.
All right.
Yeah, so incident response in this space, I find people often have kind of an interesting journey into it because it is a bit of a more, emerging space and it changes a lot. So maybe you could tell me a bit about your career path and how you got into incident and problem management in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. So my educational background has very little to do with technology. I have degrees in psychology and history, and I graduated in the middle of a recession and thought to myself, well, my initial plan to get a PhD in history and then barely be able to afford food was probably not a good future. And so I thought to myself, well, what's interesting? What allows me to be surrounded by innovation and intelligent folks and interesting problems and that kind of stuff. And technology jumped out at me. I was living in Chicago at the time. And in need of a job, I applied for a customer service role in the call center at Groupon back in, I want to say about 2010 or so. And it was immediately clear to me that there was this whole world of technology that I didn't understand. I didn't know really anything about, what is a website aside from something you simply visit and do a thing on. And the more I got engaged in that platform, the more I realized there was stuff to learn. And that has always been the thing that has interested me most, stuff to learn. And I'm inherently just a very curious person. And so I started asking questions of the folks around me and moved slowly into more and more technical roles. I went from that customer service rep, that front-facing team member, to a technical support team, to a fledgling quality support group, and then ultimately helped build the quality organization's first run there. It was really neat. After a couple of years there, I left to join a very small startup. The team was about, I want to say 20 people total. The engineering, product, and design team was a grand total of about 6. And that was the first time I got to build something kind of unilaterally. And it was a quality team. And at first, it was just a team of myself. I eventually got to hire some folks and build the processes out. And because of the nature of the size of the company, I was exposed to a lot more problems, a lot more things that I could solve, and gain a lot more depth in the way our infrastructure worked and the systems that build the internet, the systems that build our websites. And it was yet another chapter I got to read in the what is technology and how does it all work. And it was at that point that I got very tired of the Chicago winters and decided that moving back west, where I'm from, was really in the cards for me. And so I took a look at the places that I wanted to live and ruled out the ones I couldn't afford, and then checked out what companies were where. And I got another opportunity to work for a company called Simple. It was a bank, and it was a new space. It was on its way up. It was really interesting, and I got to build the quality team there also. So I have this recurring theme of joining smaller companies and building these teams, and I have enjoyed that quite a bit. And as I progressed through my career, I worked at Simple for several years, and then a couple more startups through about 2016, I want to say, through about 2021. And it was at that point that I was looking for another job and joined Webflow with the same ultimate goal: build a quality group and really get the ball rolling in the way we think about unification of quality, an approach, a style, the tools, the processes, that kind of thing. What I realized as I was performing this role over and over at a variety of places is that quality has a lot to do with not just the people on the team and the tools you're using, but the way an organization approaches it. And you can only do so much on your own. You really need the organizational buy-in to make things happen. And an aspect of quality, an arm of quality, is, of course, how you react when things go badly, because the ideal is to never have that happen, but the reality is that's unattainable. And so the incident space was this side project that I had worked on repeatedly throughout the years. And incident management, as Webflow began to scale, became more and more important. Our incident counts were rising. The impact to our customers was increasing. And so rather than having it be a side project, the choice was made to make it a full-time job, and I was the likely candidate. So I got to move into that role in about August of 2023 and have since been full-time dedicated to rebuilding our system that was in place at the time and improving our tools and instituting ways of measurement and starting discussions in engineering management and leadership groups about what it means to have X number of incidents and how quickly we respond to them and how severe they are, that kind of thing.
That's really cool. We definitely have a few common threads there, Colin. I also started on the customer support and management side of things before I kind of flopped my way around into incident management somehow. So I definitely relate to that journey. Now, I do have a follow-up question for you, in that you mentioned you spent some time in Chicago. What is your opinion on Jeppson's malort?
It's the best time you'll never remember having.
Who has never,
Yeah.
who has never experienced Jeppson's malort?
Yeah, it's something that I was introduced to by my friends from the Midwest, and it is like a combination of jet fuel and rotted vegetables. I mean, that taste is something that apparently people in the area swear by, but I could never really get behind. I do know that it results in a very good time, but the process of drinking it is really rather not fun.
I would agree with that assessment. Yeah. I'm wondering then, for somebody who's early on figuring out, I think like a lot of people aspire to be in tech, like in this world, and don't always have a path. And for somebody who's aspiring to kind of make this transition like you did, as somebody who didn't necessarily study computer science, what's a piece of advice you would give someone who hopes to find their way into tech as a career choice?
Well, if you were like me and you didn't have an enormous amount of exposure to it and you didn't have any formal education in it, you have to be very hungry. I spent my commute every single day to and from, it was 45 minutes each way, practicing and learning and getting everything I could get and cramming it all into my brain, and then using all my spare time at work to put it to practice. Asking questions and peeling back the next layer and then the next layer and the next layer. That was instrumental. And it's really about making an opportunity show up for yourself, and those opportunities typically happen more frequently in smaller to mid-stage companies that are growing quickly. And so I would advise people to be very hungry and learn absolutely everything you can. And then you have to take a bit of a risk and join those smaller companies. You're not sure where they're going, but they are growing quickly enough that there's a chance you can move into something that's more and more technical over time.
Yeah, that's awesome. I agree. Curiosity can go very far. I definitely spent many meetings secretly Googling, like, what is Kubernetes, like mid-conversation, because I was so lost. But eventually it starts to make sense.
Yeah.
I would love to know, what is your morning routine? What does that look like for you? Are you working mainly from home? Do you go into an office? What does a morning in Colin's life look like?
The morning in Colin's life. So I do work from home, and I have an office room set up. We have an extra bedroom that is devoted specifically to this space, which is nice. So I have a door I can close right there. It's marvelous. We have 3 dogs. And so the morning routine involves me being woken up oftentimes by my Chihuahua jumping on me and demanding to go outside. So I'll deal with the dogs, let them out, give them food and stuff. Typically make myself a small breakfast, clean up after any dishes we've left in the night, and then it's coffee time. Typically it's a machine, so it's running while I'm doing those things. And I get to pour myself an enormous cup of black coffee. And that usually gets my mind going enough that I can sit down at my computer, within about 10 minutes or so and actually read things and make sense of them in my head.
That definitely makes sense. Coffee is key. Incident management can be stressful at times, one might say. What do you do to blow off stress? You had a stressful day at work. Maybe there was a gnarly incident. What's your go-to move to just like decompress after it all?
Yeah, to be honest, thrive in the stress space. A number of members of my family are in the medical field. My sister is a trauma nurse. I think there's something in the water where I grew up that makes that a thing that we like. But so I really enjoy it. But for those times where it does bubble over, if the weather's good, I live in the Pacific Northwest, so the weather is only sometimes good. If the weather is good, I'll take one of the dogs for a walk. There's relatively easy access to nature, and that helps reset me. If the weather is not good, sometimes I'll spend time in the garage. I like building things out of wood, and so I give that a shot. None of them are particularly good, but it's a great way to burn off some stress and focus on a completely different kind of problem. And really step back from a computer, step back from that space and focus on making a precision cut or sanding something into oblivion, that kind of thing.
There's something about working with your hands that is very cathartic. It's just a whole different, like, quiets the mind.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I have one more question that's a bit of a fun one. I want you to describe the most memorable incident you've ever been a part of in 5 words, or even less if you can do it.
I guess 2 words would be abject chaos. Maybe be a little more descriptive with that. I got to do some counting here. How about 3? Dropped production database.
That says it all, truly. Awesome. That is all the questions that I have for you today. The last thing I will ask or throw out there is if you have any personal projects, blogs, social media, anything at all that you would like the people to know about, feel free to plug it now. Or if you're more of a private guy, then you don't have to.
Well, if folks are into traveling and photography, I do have a photography website people can check out. Nothing to do with incident management, but it's a side project passion of mine. I don't sell any photos, but I print them for friends and family and stuff at cost. So if you want something, contact me. My contact is on the website, and I'm happy to print it out for you and send it. It is factologist@exposure.co.
Okay, perfect. I'll grab it from you in writing as well, so we can stick a link to it on the page.
Cool.
Well, thanks so much for chatting with me today. It's been nice to get to talk to you face to face. And yeah, looking forward to more conversations in the future. I'm going to stop our recording now. There we go.